Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week, we talk about how to love ourselves, others, and a higher nature, how to improve our finances, career, health, relationships, and spirituality. And we have a very special guest today, Sean Kanan, which I ran into at the LA Times Book Festival recently, and he agreed to be on the show. Sean is an actor, producer, and author, well known for his portrayals of Mike Barnes, the bad boy of karate in Karate Kid Part 3, Cobra Kai. He's also been on a lot of different shows, The Bold and the Beautiful, Young and the Restless. He starred and created an Emmy-winning TV show called Studio City as well. He lost 35 pounds, which I think he'll tell us about that. And also he's the author of several books, including The Success Factor X, and his newest ones, The Way of the Cobra and Welcome to the Kumite, which are very fascinating books. We're going to get into these guys today. Welcome, Sean, to the show.
Thank you, Doctor. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes. Now, you have a fascinating backstory. When I was reading your book, you said you came from a place in Pennsylvania out here to be an actor, and the Karate Kid movies were something that you really wanted to get into. And you said you trained, I think, with the body double of Pat Morita, who was the sensei.
Sensei Fumio Demura, who unfortunately we just lost him.
Oh, sorry.
About a week ago. He just passed away.
I see. And then you went to this casting call, I think it was, for the role of Matt Barnes. And I think because you thought you knew this guy, they would immediately get you in there, but no, you had to stand with another 1,000 people or something, or kids, to do the role. Or at least to get an audition. And then I think you said you had to be an intimidating bully. So you intimidated the director first. This is something like, I got a knife or something in the kitchen, I'm going to get you. And then you intimidated the Daniel actor, what's his name?
LaRusso, again? Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, LaRusso. And you said something like, Ki, and then he said, get him away from me, or something like that. And then apparently you didn't get the part initially. Someone else got it, but then you got it at the end.
That's right.
And then everything's going great. You're going to Vegas, I guess, to celebrate at 22 years of age. And then you start bleeding in your stomach. Your blood pressure drops, and you have a life-threatening emergency.
Yeah. Christmas Day in 1988, I found myself in the unenviable position of being in the emergency room at Humana Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas. And I was being told that I was bleeding to death and they had to operate on me. And I thought that meant maybe Monday, and they meant in 15 minutes.
Wow.
And it was, and still remains, probably the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. I had to fight my way back into this life, and then from there, I had to fight my way to stay in the film.
Yes.
And I used that autobiographical story to illustrate some of the strategies and lessons and philosophy that I discuss in Way of the Cobra.
Definitely. And what I like about it is the idea of resiliency and, moving, despite the obstacles. And I think they said they were going to replace you if you couldn't get back healthy enough. You said you got mad, you got angry, and it kind of motivated you to get in shape. And you actually came back and did a great job as the Barnes in the.
Yeah. Well, you know that having a really strong why can be a tremendous, catalyst to accomplishing anything.
Yes.
And it was, I got really pissed off. I got angry. I was like, look, I've come this far. This isn't fair. And I used that sort of sense of righteous indignation and outrage to become my why, and to propel me to, getting out of the bed the first day, and the second day walking around the hospital floor, and the third day walking around 5 times, and having them discharge me. I don't know, for like 5 or 6 days after the surgery against medical advice.
Yes.
And I went to my grandparents' home to rest up for about a week. And then I started working out with an NFL lineman who trained me and got me back in shape. And I ultimately wound up doing all of my own martial arts stunts in the film.
It's amazing. Now, I want to get into your books quite a bit, but I know a lot of people ask you about the show. I think I asked you about it. You said you can't really confirm or deny you'll be on it. But let's say that theoretically, what's the motivation of Barnes now? He's coming back. He's a furniture salesman in life. And then I think you were promised 50% of the Cobra Kai, if I remember.
Yeah.
You didn't get it.
I think a lot of his motivation is to, it's a bit of, he's looking for some absolution, I think, if I had to guess. I mean, he was not a great guy at 17, but, there are not too many people that you can write off for the rest of their lives at 17 years old. And I believe that it talks about Mike Barnes getting married and his father-in-law helping him get into this furniture business and him turning his life around. And then Terry Silver burns it to the ground. So I think now, if I had to guess, and I don't know what if anything there lies in the future for Mike Barnes, but I think it would be a combination of absolution and redemption, and also payback.
Payback, interesting. Now, some theory came up that Mike Barnes wanted to go his own way and kind of get the thing back, the Cobra Kai, by himself, or I don't know if he wants to join teams with LaRusso.
Well, I don't know. Where we find Mike Barnes at the end of season 5 of Cobra Kai, is that he's become kind of an unlikely member of this 4-person band with Daniel LaRusso and Chosen and Johnny Lawrence, all these guys that just would never probably interact and get along, and yet the enemy. What is it? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, or
exactly.
Yeah. I think that Mike is a guy that was a 10th degree black belt. He was a national martial arts tournament champion.
Yes,
and I think he probably has definitely something to bring to the party.
I think so. Now, one of the characters that fascinates me is this guy Terry Silver.
Yeah,
I think what's his name, Thomas Ian or something like that.
Thomas Griffith.
Yes, Griffith. And the idea that he said now that he's older, he said he found clarity. He went through therapy. He's having a pretty good life, and then the sensei Kreese comes in his life to kind of retrigger something in his mind, where there's trauma or I don't know, search for power. So how do you see this Terry Silver character in terms of his mindset? What happened to him, basically?
Well, I think that Terry Silver is a very shrewd, very dangerous, very smart and powerful individual who is also terribly flawed and damaged. And
do you think he's a sociopath? Because in your book, you classify sociopaths.
Yeah, without a doubt, I do. Without a doubt, I think he's a sociopath, if not a psychopath.
Is there any redeeming qualities to him? I mean, theoretically, even.
Well, yeah, sure. He's charming.
Yes.
He's superficially charming and glib, which is a hallmark of sociopathy. He has what appears to be very limited compassion and care for anyone else. But he does have some good qualities. I mean, he's single-minded in what his pursuits are. He's an extremely good businessman. He's a guy that's able to see the big picture and do what's necessary with ruthlessness to get there. In the right hands, some of those are very good qualities. In the wrong hands, you get someone like Terry Silver.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's very fascinating. I like the psychological components to that, and also some of these actors and yourself. You did a great job with the anger, I think, and the redemption part of it in your scenes. Now I'm thinking of the actors themselves. Now you know these people, perhaps. What would be like a couple words to describe the actual person, not the actor? The actual person. For example, the Johnny Lawrence actor, William Zabka.
What's really funny is I was just texting with him about 10 minutes ago.
Were you? Okay.
Billy's a fantastic guy. I've known Billy since about 1988.
Wow.
He is.
He's a great comedic actor. I didn't realize he's.
Yeah, I was just going to say Billy's extremely funny.
Okay.
He's a terrific actor. But he's very, very funny in real life. And he's a guy that, you talk about a guy you'd want to go a beer with. I mean, Billy's a guy that, I really enjoy hanging out with Billy. But I have to tell you, it's the same with Yuji Okamoto. Yuji's a wonderful guy who plays Chosen. Ralph is a wonderful guy.
What would be a word for Ralph? Because he's got this youthful face. He's like 60 years old or something. He looks very young.
I think Ralph's very authentic. Ralph is a guy that has been worldwide famous for decades, but during the course of that, there's times when you've got ups, there's times when you have downs, and I think that he's from what I can tell, a very level-headed guy, a family man. He doesn't seem like he's a guy that's propelled by ego. I think he's really pleasantly, I don't know if surprised is the right word, but he's not in disbelief, but I think he just has been like, wow, isn't this amazing that after all these years, this character that I portrayed at a young age has all of this relevance now, and it's actually even bigger than it ever was. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Yeah, I think the word legacy comes to mind, where you create something that lasts far beyond you.
Yeah.
That's
and from a business standpoint, Ralph has provided so many people with a livelihood from being the Karate Kid. Cobra Kai is a huge operation with tons of people that it employs, and it all kind of starts and stops with Ralph.
Yes, I see. How about Martin Cove, the Kreese character? He's in great shape for his age, by the way. It's amazing.
I love Martin Cove. I actually have known Marty about as long as I've known Billy. Okay. I really kind of look at Marty like an uncle. He's a terrific guy. He's not at all like his character Sensei Kreese.
Oh, no. Okay. How about Silver? Is Silver like the same? Is he nice, or what's he like?
Yeah, I mean, of course he's not like.
Not social
Silver, Thomas is a great guy. He's been married to the same woman for decades. I mean, he's a very talented writer, network writer. I mean, it seems like the bad guys are very often some of the nicest guys. But Marty and I have done a play together. We did True West together. I've been a guest on his podcast. He's been a guest on a podcast that I had. So I've had a long-standing relationship with him over the decades.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to have that. Now, in terms of the Cobra, I know you talk about Cobra Kai and also Cobra in general. One thing that comes up a lot is bullying. I know you're big on that, helping people overcome that. And you said you were bullied. I think you said in third grade.
Well,
so what's your transition from bully to Cobra?
Well, I grew up in a town in Western Pennsylvania. It was kind of a tough steel town. And I found myself the target of bullies when I was younger. And, I eventually got into martial arts, and, that had a profound change on my life. But I never forgot what it was like to be bullied. And, as soon as I had the opportunity to get involved with, the anti-bullying movement, I wanted to do that. I'm one of the international youth ambassadors for Buddha Bullying, which is a 501c3, where we go into elementary schools and high schools and, facilitate a dialogue with kids about bullying. You asked what the difference between going from being bullied to Cobra. Cobra is an acronym. It's formed from the words character, optimization, balance, respect, and abundance.
Yes.
And, a Cobra is somebody that is living their most authentic life, their best life, operating at the highest level, and being the most self-aware, kind, empathetic, strong, confident person they can be. That's what I aspire to be.
Yes.
And do my best to achieve it. I fall short sometimes, like we all do. But and what's great is, when I go and I talk to these kids in school, I usually preface my speech by showing a clip of Mike Barnes terrorizing Daniel LaRusso. And I say to the kids, now, would you believe that scary guy used to get bullied? And they're like, no way, no way. And it gives me kind of a conduit to reach them and talk to them.
That's very nice. Yeah. So you have kind of a background that helps you reach these people. Now, so the way of the Cobra, and you talk about these elements, you said the acronyms. So when you talk about character, the essence of the person, treating other people when there's nothing for you to gain. I think that's a nice phrase to look at it.
Yeah.
You talk about optimization and also dealing with prioritizing things. Otherwise, things will take over. Emergencies will take over.
Yeah. Optimization is making the best decision in the moment when you must make a decision with the information that you have. And I guess the best way that I could highlight that is there's a great quote, I'm probably going to butcher it, but by General George S. Patton, who said, a good plan today executed with violent intent is better than an excellent plan tomorrow. And I really do pride myself on being an individual who takes action. And I think a lot of times people get paralyzed in searching for perfect. And a lot of times things don't need to be perfect. It's better to do them good and get them done than allow the search for perfection to become a paralytic.
I see that. Yeah. I think Napoleon was well known for that. He would just take immediate action in some of his military strategies. And I think it is important because we do get into the perfectionism paralysis mindset. So it's important. Now, you also talk about, the other one is balance, the B word, and that has to do with, I guess, having a balanced life. Neither too much self-denial or too much self-indulgence.
Right.
For example, on a diet, maybe you have a cheat day once in a while, but you keep a strict diet, exercise, maybe take a day off, kind of thing. Because in the Eastern approach, there's ascetics who is total self-denial, right? They don't eat, they don't do anything, and then the other person, indulges and all that. So you're looking for the middle way, the middle path, right? Which is
exactly the middle path. I mean, I say in the book, what good is it if you're a multimillionaire if you have to work 100 hours a week and neglect your family and the people that you love, and those relationships wind up withering on the vine? I mean, life is messy, and creating a life that's balanced is an art form. And there are times when you find yourself putting more energy into one aspect of your life than another. But if you do it in a calculated way, for instance, you look at a young couple that decides they want to own a home before they're 30. Well, they may have to say, look, we're both going to work jobs, and it is going to reduce the amount of time that we can spend together. But if you do it with a calculated understanding that it's not going to be forever, and it's to accomplish a goal which is going to facilitate greater happiness for the rest of your life, then that's not being out of balance. But I think Mr. Miyagi said it best, that balance is so important to having a life of meaningful happiness.
Exactly. And I mentioned to you, I studied Kempo, Karate, and a few martial arts, and the concept of the hara is 0.2 inches below your navel. So when you sit in a horse stance, you balance your energy there. It's very hard to push you off balance when you're you visualize yourself in that very strong stance. And that's important. Now, the other thing is abundance.
Yes.
And that's actually very beautiful. Actually, respect first. I think you mentioned respect, right? Respecting yourself and others.
Respect yourself, respect others. People generally will decide how they're going to treat you by observing how you treat yourself.
Yes, very important.
And, I try to be very careful with the words I use with myself. I believe words have meaning, thoughts have meaning. And, I'm pretty careful with what I allow other people, the kind of words to use around me, negativity, things like that.
Right.
And I try and be respectful of everyone as best I can.
Yes, makes sense. And of course, abundance, and this is something, I think you said you're reading my book, The Three Secrets of Happiness, which talks about things like optimism, gratitude,
Gratitude.
So those are the three ways, and also forgiveness I mentioned in the book.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think either of us are reinventing the wheel with our books. There are certain things that are simply true, but it's the repackaging and the messenger that's delivering it that sometimes is the one that resonates with the reader. And, you may resonate with somebody that I'm not able to, and I might, that you might not be able to, and it doesn't matter. But there are certain things that are, rules of the universe and things that are truisms that it takes to become a successful human being.
Yes.
And you'll find them in almost every culture. You look at Christianity that says that which you reap, so shall you sow. You look at Buddhism, which says the law of cause and effect. What you put out there, you get back. I mean, there are certain things that are said in different ways, but it's really the same message.
It makes sense, yeah. Now, when I read your second book, Welcome to the Kumite, this is actually very fascinating because you combine a lot of different philosophies, psychology, even spirituality. So I was really impressed by the depth.
Thank you.
Of what you're talking about. And also, you're very candid about yourself, your life, and things that you've gone through.
Yeah.
And of course, Kumite refers to sparring, for example, in the martial arts. And also, you mentioned the inner sparring, right, that we have with ourselves.
Right.
Overcoming our own negative thought processes and things
like
that.
Kumite also refers to an epic battle. And the tagline, if you will, for Welcome to the Kumite is conquer your greatest opponent, which of course is yourself.
Yes.
How do you do that? Well, you do that by emerging every day as a better, wiser, kinder, more self-aware individual than you were yesterday, hopefully. And, we don't always achieve it, but it's in the pursuit of achieving it and staying on the path that is what I believe makes the journey worthwhile and ultimately, gets us to the goal, which is being, a truly authentic person, able to communicate and resonate with other people from a place of respect. And life's funny. When you achieve one goal, as soon as you achieve that, and you take the briefest of moments to savor that, you got to start on the next journey. Otherwise, you become complacent.
That's true. And the other thing you talk about, this is kind of nice, is you have to choose your hard.
Right.
You say, for example, marriage is hard, but so is divorce.
Yes.
Working out is hard, but so is being overweight.
Yes.
And I use a phrase like, you can choose a little bit of pleasure now in a lifetime of pain, or a little pain now in a lifetime of pleasure. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic here.
I guess it involves self-discipline, and self-discipline is the difference between what you want now and what you really want. And it's in those moments of, I don't know if self-denial is the right word, or sacrifice, but there is a certain aspect of that we grow, we toughen.
Yes.
And we learn to appreciate and have gratitude for what we have, because you understand what it took to get there. I'm sure you've heard the analogy that success is like an iceberg. Everybody sees when, the shiny brilliance of success is sticking out of the water, but, icebergs are 4 or 5 times longer down below the water, and it's comprised of the sacrifice and the struggle and the quote unquote failures and all of that sort of stuff. But truly, that's what makes the success worthwhile.
Definitely. Like when kids learn, I always recommend kids learning martial arts for the self-discipline, for the psychological components.
Yeah.
I even use it in my therapy practice as well. A lot of these techniques, martial arts, even Aikido, which is joining the energy of the person and then redirecting them.
Yeah, there's a great lesson from Aikido too, which is sometimes if you feel like you're swimming against the stream in the universe, you're not getting the results you want. You need to take the I call it the surrender strategy, where you need to kind of know when it's time to give into the universe instead of fighting the energy. Give into it, and sometimes that's the path to success.
Exactly so. The Tao, flowing with the resistance. Now, the hard part for a lot of people, though, is breaking the bad habits and addictions. Attachment, you call it attachment to destructive pleasure, where there's eating or drinking. Now, you said you did have an issue with drinking. Were you drinking too much at one time?
I did. Yeah, I did for a long time, and I couldn't. I could deal with it for long periods of time, but it just continued to rear its ugly head. And
were you partying or just a general drinking for other reasons?
I was. I like to drink. I mean,
Irish.
I don't know what the name I would give it is, but I decided that if I was going to put this book out, that I need to live my life in accordance with what I was saying, because I couldn't abide being a hypocrite and a fraud. And so I completely changed my life. I quit drinking, and I, and really once I did that, so many other pieces of my life fell into place that every single day it just seems like something new and wonderful is happening.
That's wonderful. Now, you also mentioned you're kind of a chubby kid. Let's say I have a big sandwich here for you. Do you want to eat it right now, Sean?
Not anymore.
You call it? Is it the hoagie? Is that the term for it?
Oh yeah.
It's like a huge sandwich,
Jersey Mike's, yeah.
Oh, Jersey Mike's. Oh, that's your favorite. Oh, okay.
That's the other thing.
So how do you do that? Because you lost the 35 pounds. Did you cut out all the carbs, the Jersey Mike's stuff?
No, I decided that this was going to become a lifestyle, and I don't diet and I don't count calories. I am careful with what I eat, but I don't restrict myself. I fast twice a week. I don't drink alcohol. I try my best to avoid processed food. Pasta, rice, corn, things like that.
Is that a 24-hour fast where you just drink water, or is it?
The longest fast I do is probably around 20 hours. I do one that's 20 hours, and I do one that's 16 hours.
If you kind of eat the next day, but not the one day or something.
Yeah, and 8 hours of it you're sleeping, and so it's basically like from after dinner until about 3 o'clock the next 2 or 3 o'clock the next afternoon. And what's funny is the hardest part is at night when you're in bed. You wake up in the morning and I have black coffee, and then I'm not even hungry. I mean, I could keep going into the evening, but I just eat something because I know at some point I need to. But I cook a lot. I prepare a lot of my own food.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of it is making good decisions. I do meal prep so that I have healthy, good food choices around the house.
Mm.
Try not to keep crap in the house. Um, I'm fortunate that I'm able to have a personal trainer and, still work out training in martial arts. And, at 56, I'm fighting the good fight.
That's good. Now, in terms of the drinking, I know there's a 12-step program. You also mentioned something called functional imagery training. What did you use to get the alcohol?
I really tried everything and I just couldn't do it. And I'll be really honest. I started praying
Okay,
and
spiritualist.
I asked the Lord to remove me from the burden of this.
Mm.
And it didn't work for a good while, but I kept praying. And um, I, one day, I remember having my last drink and I had to go on a trip.
Mm.
And it was a place that I would have normally drank a lot. I was staying in a casino for three
Oh,
days
Vegas or something.
and I didn't drink and I felt really good. And then I just kept going. And now it's funny. I'm going to be at that same casino for an event in July,
Yeah. Mhm.
and that will mark a couple years that
Mm.
I haven't drank. And like I
Congratulations.
said, my life has never been better, more exciting.
Yes.
Um, I'm very blessed.
Now, some people can't even get one drink and may trigger. Can you have one drink or you just totally abstain?
Can I? No, I don't. I don't drink at all. I mean,
Oh,
could I have one drink if I wanted to? Yeah, probably.
okay.
I probably could, but it's a little like Russian roulette. I could probably do it,
Yeah.
5 times,
Okay.
but then it's that sixth time
The bullet.
when it becomes a disaster.
I see what you're saying.
And first of all, the biggest thing for me is that the compulsion,
Ah.
the desire has been lifted.
Oh, that's the power. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not just sort of holding on, white knuckling it, kind of like I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not.
Yes.
It's been lifted for me, and I couldn't do it myself, and I can
Right.
only attribute it
Yes.
to God Almighty.
It's a blessing. Now, you mentioned a lot of interesting concepts in your book, including what's called Dharma, which we see
Yes.
it like a duty or calling, conformity to your true nature. In Latin culture, we call it don divino, which means gift from God, your don.
Ah,
People are great at writing, teaching, maybe taking care of
right.
family members, acting in your case, perhaps. So, how do you help people find that don divino or that dharma in their life? And some people resist it. They're either afraid of it in some different ways. They don't think they can be good enough for it. How
Well,
was your journey with that?
the universe, I believe, will keep trying to tell you what your dharma is. The Buddhists say the sun's dharma is to shine, a bell's dharma is to ring.
Hmm.
It just your dharma is what it is, and a really good way to get in touch with what your dharma is, if you haven't found it, is what is it that brings you joy in life? Do you find that you're always walking around singing? Do you love to write in a journal?
Definitely.
Do you find that you love helping people? You're always somebody that's of service. And you might find that what it is that brings you joy is closely akin to what your dharma is. Somebody that is always interested in helping other people, maybe somebody who it's their dharma to be a teacher. Musicians and actors, I think, figure out their dharma very quickly, but um, um, things like dreams, things like I don't know. People call it coincidence, serendipity, things like that. But things that keep reappearing in your life, I believe, tend to be messages from the universe, because I believe the universe wants you to be on the path to reaching your highest self. And in order to reach your highest self, you really want to find your dharma, because that's when you're in alignment with the universe. And,
Definitely.
a lot of people, you know, can do things and even be successful not following their dharma. But I believe there's always going to be a certain X factor missing.
Hmm.
Something where you feel that you're truly in harmony and doing what you're meant to do. And I feel like I found that. And I thought that really it was to be an actor, but as I've gone along in my journey, I've realized that it's to inspire people, and that acting is only one conduit to
Yes.
doing that I can do it through my writing and my speaking and my coaching. And I believe that that's my dharma. And so I guess when you really distill that down, it's a bit of my dharma is to be a teacher.
It seems like it is. I mean, from what I've seen it from you, you love psychology, philosophy, maybe spirituality. You have kind of this higher nature idea to help people, which is really.
I do. I like to help people because I've been helped a great deal in this life.
Right.
And I believe that it's incumbent on those of us that have been helped to help others find their way.
Definitely. And it releases a lot of the interness outwardly. Now, I'm going to tell you a little something, and tell me if you know what this refers to. I come to you with only karate, empty hands.
Yeah.
I have no weapons.
Yes.
Should I be forced to defend myself, my principles, or my honor? Should it be a matter of life or death, or right or wrong? Here are my weapons. Karate, empty hands.
Yes, it's the creed of karate.
Creed of karate, right? And the code, right? And you do talk about codes.
Yes.
In your book, you mentioned Bushido, certain things that are important to the Japanese warriors, righteousness, integrity, and justice. And then you have your own, Sean's creed, I guess you call it.
I do have my own.
And you talk about things like
I think it's important that you know what it is that you stand for, right? And for me, the first part of my code is that I will not compromise my character, because I believe honestly that character is everything. I believe it is the most important determinant of success and happiness. And there are times you have to do things to maintain your character that might be difficult and uncomfortable. But the knowledge that you maintain your character is something that leads to meaningful happiness. You may be temporarily uncomfortable, but you can still be a meaningfully happy person.
What do you say to the people pleasers? The people that want others to like them and be appreciated, and they may sacrifice their character. How do they stand firm in what they believe in?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to know who you are before you. I mean, if you're simply bouncing around like a pinball, constantly trying to please different people as a way of fitting in,
right.
It's really a way of externalizing the journey of finding out who you are. It's a way of keeping the spotlight off yourself. And if I can just interact and make other people happy, I don't have to really look at my shit, so to speak. You know what I mean? And the thing is, wherever you go, there you are. And whatever issues you have, if you don't deal with the internal issues and obstacles that you have, they will always stay with you. And you can find temporary external success and fleeting ephemeral happiness, but you're not going to find real happiness. The way to do that is to figure out who you are. And then when you do that, and when you please yourself, you're going to find that in itself will be pleasing to others. You don't have to please them by doing things for them and giving in a false way.
That's very, very powerful. And I think as part of what you wrote in the book, you talk about personal inventory and looking at yourself. And actually, I see a person here. Maybe you can recognize this individual. There's someone here that is impatient, impulsive, angry, resilient, loyal, honest, kind, and also decisive. Who could that be?
I think I know that guy.
You know that guy, or you don't know that guy?
Well, I thought it was only fair that if I told you what I thought my best qualities are,
okay,
that if I fessed up and enumerated my worst qualities.
Right. What's very candid of you? Like I said, you're really open in this book.
I think, look, Doctor, I think it's important that I'm writing a book where I'm elevating my position, myself to the position of being a sensei or a teacher. And I think that the only way to connect with my audience is to show them that I'm willing to be vulnerable and honest in my shortcomings, and that I'm not that I'm not preaching to them, that I'm just another guy trying to figure it out. And I figured out a couple things, and if I can share those things, I'd like to do it. But I'm certainly not levitating 3 feet above the ground, by my hut in Kathmandu. Like I said, I'm just another guy trying to figure it out like everybody else.
Sure. But that's nice, though. I like the humbleness is important. Humbleness, like I said, kindness, and confidence at the same time. So that's kind of interesting dynamic when you have both of those. And you also talk about interesting laws, one of which is polarity. And you say that when you see one thing, you see the other. So when you see bad, there can be good. Or if you're in lack, you can find abundance. So that's kind of a very interesting concept as well.
Well, most people look at things as opposites. Like hot is the opposite of cold.
Right.
But they're both elements of the same constant, which is temperature. So everything has a polarity, a yin and a yang.
Right.
And if you find that you're in a place in your life where you're experiencing what you believe to be unhappiness or lack or things like that, the law of polarity stipulates that there is always the possibility of you experiencing the exact opposite. Then it's up to you to attract it. How do we attract it? Yes. Well, that's where the law of vibration comes in. Everything vibrates to some atomic level. Right. And only with magnets do opposites attract. In the universe, like attracts like. So if you go around saying, I'm broke, I can't make any money, and you're acting like you live in scarcity, well, you're vibrating at that sort of scarcity sensibility, and the universe thinks you want more of it. And so it gives you more. But if you say, hey, you know what? I don't have everything I want, but God, I got a beautiful wife who loves me, and I got a family, and I got my health. You know what? I got a lot of stuff. I'm living in gratitude. And when you do that, the universe says, well, here's a guy that's living in gratitude and who's not living in scarcity. He's living in abundance, and the world and the universe gives you more abundance. I have seen this happen in my own life. I have been blessed with more and more and more. And I'm convinced it's because, I do my level best to always operate from a place of gratitude, living in the present.
That's very powerful. And also, I think you mentioned the law of transmutation and also what I call reversal. Because many times we have very strong energy that we direct against ourselves. But if we reverse that, we can direct it outwardly and attract, like you said, the wonderful things. And I work a lot with, let's say, people who are shy or single or even lonely. And what I tell them is that instead of focusing on that, find the loneliest person in the room and talk to them, or the shyest person. So now you're reversing your energy outwardly, and oftentimes you will attract positive things to come back to you as a result.
Absolutely.
You don't want to think of yourself as lonely. You think of yourself as loving.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I believe the quickest way to sort of get out of feeling badly for yourself and, unhappy is to be of service. I think, go out and do something for someone else with no agenda and no expectation of getting anything back. Just do it to be good and kind and of service. And, the best way to feel self-esteem is to do estimable acts. And, I've always found in my life.
How do you define estimable? What's the term that you're saying?
Helping where help is needed, being of service, being kind, treating other people with dignity and respect, helping other people to be heard, and not doing it because you're getting accolades or any kind of applause or anything.
Right.
And when you put that out into the universe, I believe it's rewarded, and it isn't always rewarded with material things. I think it's rewarded with a sense of feeling good about yourself and confidence and self-esteem, and that's one of the most important gifts that we can have. Because so many people who have all sorts of things walk around feeling really rotten inside.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point, because they're lacking the love, and I talk about extending loving energy without expectation.
Right.
So the idea of being like the sun, the sun shines on everyone. Some people don't like the sun and they cover up, but the sun doesn't get mad or take it personal. It keeps shining.
No, the sun just shines. It's like universal law. Listen, the universe isn't fair. It isn't unfair. It just is. It doesn't favor anyone. You hear the laws of the universe.
Definitely. Now, the other thing is, I like these laws because they really are very powerful. The law of rhythm, there's a time for sadness, a time for joy, and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking like with single people or people that come out of a divorce or a bad relationship, maybe there's a time they need to be single, take care of themselves, love themselves. Yes. And there's another time to maybe find another person. And I'm kind of curious, did you go through that? I mean, you've been married to a very talented woman. Is this your first or second wife?
This is my second marriage.
Okay. Did you go through a transitional phase as well?
I did go through a transitional phase, and it was very difficult. But I think that regarding the rhythm, I'll give you an example. I knew that when I stopped drinking, that there was going to be a period of sort of reacclimation
Right.
and probably changing some friends. And, you know, things in some ways became more difficult before they became easier. But I understood that this was the rhythm of the change. And that if I didn't fight it and gave into it and just did the next right thing, I understood that the pendulum would swing the other way, which it has.
Interesting point, yeah. Because there's initial that emptiness, and then you want to fill it with that stuff you used to do that was not good for you, but
Right.
you have to have a little bit of patience to wait
Yeah.
until the good things come, right, to fill that. That's the idea. And of course, you also mentioned even Kaizen, the continuous improvement. They call it the Toyota
Yes.
way. So, so you're covering a lot of topics here. So basically a little bit improvement, continual improvement is one of your.
Yeah. For those people that don't know what Kaizen is, it was a Japanese business philosophy that was made famous by a guy named Edwards Deming and actually General Douglas MacArthur when they were trying to rebuild the Japanese industrial system after World War II. And what they found was that slow, incremental, and constant improvement was more effective than sort of dramatic grip it and rip it strategies. It's basically, take a lesson from the tortoise, not the hare.
Right.
And, it's one of those deals you can equate it to weight loss. You can do everything right and you don't see any change the first 5 days, and it's 10 days later. And, you're not really seeing a change. And all of a sudden you go out one day and people go, my God, you've lost a lot of weight. You look terrific.
Right.
And it's just staying in the process and staying out of the results.
Right. So, maybe working out 15, 20 minutes and then increasing your workout.
Yes.
You start to feel better, motivated.
Yes.
Half the problem is getting to the gym. Half the work.
Exactly.
So psychologically, once you're in there.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing I noticed, I read somewhere that you was raised Jewish. Do you have any spiritual beliefs that kind of inform your work? That kind of help
well,
you?
yeah, I was. I am Jewish. I was bar mitzvah, and that's had a definite effect on my life. There's a lot of really wonderful things that I like about Judaism, but I do, as I said, I believe that there are certain things that are absolutes, and you can find them in any major religion or not in religion. And so, for me, I hate when people use that expression. Well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. But I really, I sort of pick and choose from a lot of different philosophies and theologies and things like that.
Yes, I think it's great. I mean, people have different concepts, but the universal, I believe, is love is one of the universal, highest levels of human beings, and loving yourself, others, and the higher nature, which people call it God, or they call it spirit, or different things. Now, these are a couple interesting questions for you. Number one, if you could tweet a phrase to the world, what would that be?
You're enough.
Ah, interesting. Okay, and tell us about what that means.
Well, I think that people are always trying to be seen for who they really are, and in doing that, there's the propensity to push and to be overly demonstrative, either emotionally or with your actions or whatever, to show the world who you are.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter is that, you're enough without pushing. Listen to the music of your heart. Listen to, this song that your soul plays, and that's enough to share with the world. And it takes a lot of pressure off you. Like, if you don't have to push and say, look at me.
Right. Impressing people, trying to win their favor.
Yeah.
That's extremely powerful, yeah. Because I know a lot of people, the pushing part, I can see that. So it's more of flowing with it kind of thing, being your truest nature, right? And extending it.
Right. Yeah. Just demonstrating to the world your authentic self. And that's enough.
Beautiful. Now, how about, they have all these superheroes these days. Is there one that you either love or maybe one you can even create? What superhero would you want to be or create?
I kind of like Thor a lot. I got to be
Thor.
honest.
We used to have some. He's got the long hair. I used to have it. Right?
I like Thor.
Yeah, he had a little comedic element to him in the last movie. Did you see that one?
He does. Yeah. I'm a big fan.
What do you like about his? I mean, he's powerful, or I don't know, he's loyal.
He's powerful, but I think that he's a guy that he's a god, and he's used to everything going his way. And when he meets the Earth Woman, like all men, he instantly is thrust into an arena where you're either going to adopt some humility and some compromise, or you're going to be a very unhappy guy.
Right, exactly.
And I like the, I don't know if metaphor is the right word, but here's this guy that is he's perfection. He's a god. He's powerful, and yet he's still just a guy trying to figure it out when it comes to women and when it comes to other people.
Right, exactly. He's putty in her hands, maybe, right? Exactly. That's wonderful, John. Well, it's been a tremendous pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you, Doctor.
There's a lot of interesting depth, and I think compassion is coming from you, kind of a love for people.
Well, as do you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk like this. And as wonderful as it was seeing you at the book festival, this is a lot more intimate, and we can hear each other a little better and connect.
Yes.
And that's what I'm about. And I hope that we have the opportunity at some point to do this again. And I'm very excited about finishing your book. I was reading for about half an hour this morning, and
The Three Secrets of Happiness. Yes.
This is a wonderful book. It really is. It's a small, thin book, but the information in it is mountainous.
Thank you. That's very nice. The Three Secrets of Happiness. Well, we all need those secrets, right? Because happiness is the ultimate thing. Yes, now, where can people hear more about your books and your things? Do you have websites? Do you do coaching?
I do coaching. Actually, I'm going to be offering 2 coaching sessions this Saturday. Mm-hmm. You can go to SeanKanan.actor, or you can follow me on Instagram at Sean.Kanan or Twitter at Sean Kanan.
Sean Kanan. And how do you spell Sean Kanan for those that need the spelling?
SeanKanan. Or you can go to wayofthecobra.com.
Fantastic.
All right.
Well, Sean, this has been a
doctor. Take care of yourself. We'll talk again.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. So that was a great interview live at the Los Angeles Book Festival at USC. We had an amazing time, and this is a great opportunity to interview these wonderful authors and people that have a message that's going to help others. So, Love University students, if you want to be on the show in the future, or if you have a show idea and want to comment on today's show, you can reach us at 310-226-8090. You can write to us at loveuniversitylove@gmail.com. You can visit us at loveuniversity.love. You can also download the podcast on Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Love University Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Love Letter U Podcast. And you can also go to our YouTube channel, Love University. So until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. It's time to put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. And class is now dismissed. Love yourself, others, and a higher nature. Until next time.